Bum 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 bum. Oh my god, it's uploading. I don't know if Brianna's gonna keep this in. She'll probably keep this in. Anyways, hello and welcome to the Spiritual Sisters podcast with Gabrielle Celeste. Welcome to another episode, baby. So at time of recording, it is post her 34th birthday, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of the really, really kind and sweet wishes. You guys, I got over 100 well wishes and notes, and I was like, damn, I just felt really loved and appreciated and all the things. So first and foremost, I wanted to say that, but I bet you guys weren't expecting another solo episode so quickly. Guess what? Neither was I, because it's Mercury retrograde just about. We're in the shadow period, so maybe that's worse than the actual retrograde. And so at time of recording, it is towards the end of June, and I was like, Brianna, I've been having some issues with my computer. Let's give it a go on mine. If not, I'm going to go and skedaddle to get yours. She is on her way to said bachelorette party, and we will recap with her when she returns and have a nice little update for you. So in this episode, what we're going to be talking about is Jupiter in Leo, right? So it's a brand new transit that is starting. Well, it'll have already started by the time that this episode drops, but it begins on June 30th at 10:53 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that'll be post the full moon in Capricorn on the 29th. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into what it means for you and all of the signs. And that's what this episode is on today. So get comfy, relax, all the things. Before we get into it, I did want to share that to be on the lookout for what I have going on in the month of July. It's interesting because I go back, I would say, okay, we're just going to be like all over the place. We're going to flow because she's had a lot of coffee. I had a coffee. This is not like me. I had a coffee at 3:30 in the afternoon. And usually for me, like if I'm having coffee past 3 o'clock, it's like, okay, I'm asking to not sleep that evening. That is how we know we're like in our 30s, well into our 30s, because you're slightly affected by like the littlest amount of caffeine. But my girlfriend Alyssa, shout out Alyssa, she got me a Starbucks gift card for my birthday. So I was like, let's go do this, right? So anyways, tasted good. So here we are. And I did my makeup because it's a hair wash day. My sheets are clean. So I was like, let's just bust this out because who knows when I'm going to get the chance to again. So yeah, the month of July, I went back and I went to my year ahead reading and I read for myself, and I also connected on my birthday. And I think my year ahead readings, you guys, those have to be like prime. Like those I think are my sweet spot. Like I don't want to say they're my niche, but they slap. And I offered mid-year readings because if you do a lot of shadow work, it's almost easier to jump timelines per se. So maybe your year ahead reading, I don't want to say it's invalidated, but again, you're on a different timeline. So part of it could be true. So I did mid-year specials in the month of June. And for July, I'm kind of feeling like there's like a business thing that wants to come forth. So check the show notes for the drop of this episode, which I believe is going to be on let's see, I think it's the 7th. Yep, it's the 7th. 7/7. Yeah, I'm really feeling the call to put some of my business skill sets to the test because, well, if you don't know, you know, or if you do know, those who know. I actually have a background as an auditor, and I've just been really feeling the call to apply some type of auditing skill set to for like the psychics that I know. You guys, I know over 50 psychics. Isn't that crazy? Well over 50 psychics. That's insane. I think it's actually really cool because I remember when I started this work, I was like, how cool would it be to have access to just like a plethora of friends who are also very psychic and run their own businesses? And what do you know? She was manifesting without even realizing she was manifesting. And so I just really feel like I can support people in the field from that perspective. So all this to say, check the show notes. Something might be available. That's the focus for the month of July because every single month this year in 2026, I am trying to do something different just to keep my creativity going and flowing and all the things. And to that point, it's going well, but it's also so interesting because I it's almost like I haven't really had the chance to plan the way I've wanted to because of how quickly this fire horse year is going. So, anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're just going to get into Jupiter and Leo for all the signs and just get right to it. So, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know. Let me know where this hits for you in your chart. For me, it's going to be in my 5th house. So, that's actually a pretty cool transit. I have my Chiron in the 5th house, so maybe not. I guess we'll see. But anyways, okay. So as I mentioned, Jupiter enters Leo after spending a year in Cancer on June 30th, 2026 at 10:53 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what's so interesting is they say that Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer. So that is the best sign for that planet to be in. But I don't know about you guys. It did not feel that way this year. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I overhyped, I guess. If you had a good like June 2025 to June 2026, let a girl know. But for me, it just kind of felt like, I don't know, like clickbait, pop astrology, underwhelming. However, I will say Jupiter in Cancer does bring quite a bit of movement and people moving from new homes from one to another, traveling, being on the go quite a bit. And that was very true because I know so many people that moved and relocated in this last year. And actually, I moved at the beginning of the transit. So there is truth to astrology and it being so literal. So Jupiter in Leo, it hasn't been in Leo since August 10th of 2015. And its year in Leo, the last time it was there was July 17th, 2014 to August 10th of 2015. So what I want you to do is to go back through your emails, go back through your phone and look at photos, memories, Facebook memories, Instagram posts. Think back to where you were from that summer of 2014 to the summer of 2015 and what was going on for you in your life at that time. And the thing about Jupiter transits is you're basically like, if you have, say, your Jupiter in Leo, natally speaking. So if you look at your birth chart and Jupiter falls into the sign of Leo, that means you're having your Jupiter return. And Jupiter takes 12 years to make a full orbit around the sun. So he's spending about a year in each constellation. And so if you say you have Jupiter in Leo, think back to what began for you in that summer of 2014 and what has ended. And even if you don't have Jupiter in Leo, think about what has happened for you since 2014 to now, because that's a cycle in itself. So overall, Jupiter in Leo is actually a good transit because Jupiter itself, it rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a fire sign, fire constellation. So Jupiter likes to be in fire signs per se. And I'm seeing this as a positive transit. I think it depends on the astrologer that you speak to and how they're perceiving it. I also want to add another caveat. It depends on the house that it's in for you. And it also depends if Jupiter's aspecting other planets, because that's going to give you an idea of how this transit's going to go for you specifically, right? And so in addition to that, Jupiter, with the transits that it's making, it not just for it natally, but if it's going to be aspecting throughout its time in Leo and come across other planets, that's also going to affect you too. Jupiter is seen as the greater benefic, meaning he brings all the blessings and the abundance and the wealth and expansion and growth, which is what Jupiter is meant to represent. And he does represent that in terms of the planet itself. But also with Jupiter is like, too much of a good thing can be too much of a good thing. And so think about how that might be showing up for your life as well. When we get to like the first house transits, if you are going to be having Jupiter in your first house, which means that you are a Leo rising, an example of this is, and it's not always the case, but it's an important thing to note, is when Jupiter moves through your first house. People don't talk about this, but you can typically gain weight. Like I've seen some people go through some major like weight gains through Jupiter first house transits. Although Jupiter does really enjoy being in the first house as well. So there's certain places that all planets, but Jupiter as well, I don't want to say especially, I almost did, but all planets prefer to be in certain signs versus others. And Jupiter thankfully likes to be in Leo. And yes, in Leo, I was like, wait, is it in Leo? Yes, he does. It's Leo and Sagittarius, and he just got out of Cancer. I want to say the sign he does not like to be in is in Capricorn, because usually the planet that the sign that the planet's exalted in, so for this example, it would be Jupiter's exalted in Cancer, therefore the opposite sign, which is Capricorn, he wouldn't care to be in. And that's generally like a rule that you can understand, you can apply for when you're studying astrology. So for all my astrology babies, you can bank that one. It's an easy way to remember. So that all to be said, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to consider where Jupiter is at in your chart and which house Leo falls into, because Jupiter is about to spend an entire year there. And so if you are 12 years old, 24, 36, 48, and 60, you are going through what is called a Jupiter return. So happy Jupiter return. It tends to be a lucky year. And yeah, Jupiter brings good shit. So I hope that if this podcast finds you wherever you're at, it's in a great place for you. You have a wonderful year, and you learn a little bit about this transit and Jupiter in this episode. And be sure to share with a friend, give us a 5-star review, and let's get right back into it. All right. So Aries rising, starting with the first sign of the zodiac, 5th house, baby, 5th house. So I am a Pisces rising. However, in Placidus, which is the system that I study and practice, it's going through my first house because I'm a 16-degree Pisces rising. So the primarily majority of this is going to be 5th house for me. So in whole signs, it's going to be 5th house for Aries rising, which is in whole sign, I am an Aries rising. It depends on the system because, again, 16 degrees. So it's going to kick me to the next sign, which is Aries, although I do identify as a Pisces rising. So you're going to want to look to see, again, into the chart where it's applying to you specifically. So if you're an Aries rising, 5th house, what you're going to want to consider this year is children. So 5th house is all about having babies, watching out for pregnancy if that's something you're interested in, but just birthing something new in general. So entrepreneurship, creative projects, being seen, visibility in general. Writing, so literature is a big thing in the 5th house, hobbies, creative writing, and having fun. It's an enjoyment house. Your inner child, healing your inner child, themes around children in general. Really, really big for a 5th house transit, especially when Jupiter's through there. And excessive indulgence can be a thing. So sex is also associated with the 5th house. It's also the 8th, but again, it's the idea of like too much of a good thing is too much. And if you're doing too much, you're going to become imbalanced, and balance is one of the universal laws. So anyways, you know where I'm going with this. So Aries risings, I hope you have a great time and a great year. I'm right there with you. Taurus risings. So this is going to be going through the Jupiter and Leo will be in your 4th house. So think about positive developments around your home, emotional security. You could be moving or renovating your home space. Some type of positive change is likely occurring in your 4th house. In addition to this, healing family and ancestral ties could also be a thing as well with the 4th house Jupiter transit. So that's something to look forward to. With Jupiter being the planet of abundance to luxury to some extent, there could be a strong desire for comfort and luxury and how you feel nourished in general, especially with Taurus in the 4th, because Taurus likes nice shit. Taurians have the best taste alongside Saggies, and Jupiter rules Sag. So luxury, like the finer things in life, could definitely be a thing, and that applies to the home space in this regard. That also includes having more gatherings at home. And this also includes finding balance with career and responsibilities, because the 4th house of home is on the 4th and the 10th axis, and the 10th house is about career. So say, for example, Aries risings, their 5th house is where the transit's occurring. Their 11th house could also see benefits to this transit. And same goes for, like, say, the 4th house. If you're a Taurus rising, then your 10th house of career is going to see the benefit, and so forth. And that's going to apply for all of the axes and the houses. So Gemini risings, 3rd house. This is happening in your 3rd house. So development of communication skills and fast thoughts, creative ones as well coming in. You could also be traveling quite a bit, not necessarily for a long period of time, but for like 2 to 3 days at a time. 2 to 3 days at a time. Could even be like 2 to 3 hours at a time, having to constantly say, go to, like, I don't know, this is an example, but go to the doctor's, go to like your nearby water station, and that's a frequent trip. Go to the grocery store, like you find yourself constantly there. That's definitely like a 3rd house energy. This particular time is a great time for writing, for learning, for expanding your consciousness, for networking, for social media, for putting yourself out there. the thing with this transit is you want to watch out if you're overcommitting as well. And community and more time with siblings is definitely a thing too. Third house transits are nice. Has it gone through? Yeah, I went through my third house last year. It's so interesting. It's when I moved. That's when I moved to San Diego. Then when it went through my fourth is when I moved back. Astrology is so literal. So literal. Okay, so Cancer risings. This is going through your second house. Okay, so second house, baby. Second house is how you make your own money. It is resources that you acquire by yourself. And to a large extent, the second house is also the house of self-esteem and self-worth. So a second house Jupiter transit with Jupiter and Leo specifically, it's great for improving self-worth over that year-long period. You're going to find avenues and additional resources for support and financial growth and just improved earning power as well. And it's a really good time to build long-term stability. So oftentimes people are like, oh my God, I remember like when I was studying astrology pretty heavily at the beginning of my business, and just my studies in general, I'm an auditory learner, and I'm also a very visual learner. So I kind of oscillate between the two, depending on what it is that I'm studying. And I remember watching this YouTube video of an astrologer, and he was like, yeah, like I was really disappointed when I had a second house transit and it didn't go the way that I thought, because he's like, I'm going to become rich and a millionaire. And he's like, it didn't happen. But what it was for him specifically was he was putting into play practices that were going to serve him over a period of time. And that's very much like a Jupiter in the second house transit. So again, good time to build long-term stability. And during this time, you might also feel the need to make a huge purchase of sorts. Also, just improving the types and the qualities of possessions that you have is definitely a second house transit. And the key with this transit is to avoid overspending and attaching your identity to a specific status. So, Cancer risings, enjoy. But a good opportunity to make money nonetheless. So let me know how that goes. Leo rising, first house. Okay, so we talked about overindulgence and the weight gain. But overall, it doesn't always have to be that. So it could be you really just coming into the most expansive, grown out, evolved version of self. But first house transits with Jupiter in the first, because Jupiter really enjoys being in the first house and it rules over the ninth house. So the ninth house is associated with Sagittarius, and the first house is Aries. Jupiter really likes being in Aries. So again, fire signs, right? But Leo in the first house, positive developments of self could come forth. The realignment of how you look could also come forth. I was thinking about when Jupiter went through my Pisces in my first, and I had a lot of Aries there too. So it was like a good year and a half. Because again, I study Placidus. So the houses are a bit wider than the whole sign. They're not balanced out. A bitch put on literally like 14 pounds of muscle. I put on 14 pounds of muscle, you guys. I was like such low body fat. So the realignments and like how you appear is such a thing. So you could gain weight or you could not. Depends on how you go with it. If you have a heads up, I hope that helps. Leo risings. Ego deaths are also associated with the first house as well. Identity shifts across the board. So personal expansion, confidence, your visibility increases exponentially and dramatically, usually when the first house transit with Jupiter is occurring. But you also want to watch out for overextending yourself in this period of time as well, and then excessive activity. So overdoing it. Again, too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing with Jupiter. So we'll see. Okay. Virgo risings, 12th house. Virgo risings, 12th house. This one's funny. 12th house Jupiter transits. I've had enough now. I've been studying astrology long enough to like remember mine and just think about what that was like for me. And that was the start of my existential crisis was already happening, but I was like deep down the rabbit hole at this point. Just think of this as like an opportunity, if you're not already spiritual, to not only develop your spirituality, but to climb to even higher levels of consciousness with Jupiter in the 12th over this next year. So from 2026 to 2027, it's really a great opportunity to find release, to heal, to find closure. And vivid dreams and inner guidance is definitely going to be a thing. So that 12th house is the house of dreams. Lucid dreaming, huge during this period of time. Prophetic dreams, not just for yourself, but also for others. It's heightened. It's turned up a notch. I actually don't think it's bad, but behind the scene work is recognized. So if you've been hiding, this might be your last year of hiding. Once that Jupiter in the first house transit happens for you next year, when Jupiter goes into Virgo, you might be pushed to being a little bit more visible. So anyways, but it's excellent for taking time off, for resting, for recovery, for therapy, for retreat. So that's really cool about the 12th house transit. And with this one, you want to avoid over escapism. When I was writing this, it made sense. Escapism, avoidance, and hidden excess. So finding balance is really important with this. Happy upcoming Jupiter and Leo transit, my Virgo risings. Okay, Libra risings in the 11th house. 11th house. This is fun. So consider expansion of friendships, networks, social influence, and so forth. And this could be also a really great opportunity to develop your team leadership skills and also find a community that supports your growth. So that could be a thing with the 11th house transit. It's also a really great time for collaborations and to build your audience and your brand if that is something you're interested in doing. But with this one specifically, this is a really great transit to have unexpected luck. And when you want something to materialize quickly, Libra risings, for whatever the reason, they are blessed with this especially. And then when it happens for them in the 11th house, when Jupiter goes through there, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's like, it's magical. That's like the only word I can think about it. So I feel like Libra risings are especially blessed. But again, it also depends on what your chart is doing. So if there's, maybe planets that don't really care to be in the 12th house and Jupiter's going to come into contact with them, whatever Jupiter is coming into contact with in general, yes, he is the planet of abundance, but again, he's going to expand. So this could be either good or bad. So say like, for example, Jupiter, I guess I'll use myself as an example. Jupiter is going to go over my Chiron. So if I hadn't done a lot of shadow work, I probably would not be experiencing the benefits of it. But I would like to think because I've been in the trenches for some time and I'm, it's behind me at this point. Hopefully it's a blessing because Jupiter's also there to bless. So could be bad, could be good. It really just depends on your chart specifically. Okay. Scorpio risings, 10th house of career. Okay. Visibility, progress, recognition, leadership, promotion, success, public recognition, all things that the 10th house represents. Scorpio risings feels like it's going to be good for you. I have two celebrities in mind. I'm like, I think Katy Perry is evil, to be perfectly honest, but she is a Scorpio rising. Her, Lana Del Rey, and then Taylor Swift is assumed to be a Scorpio rising. I think Taylor might be a Capricorn. I think she's a Scorpio. But those ladies they're going to be in the public eye more and more. So I'm very curious to see what happens for them because it's going to be affecting their career. But anyways, I don't think it's bad. It's actually a good thing. But strong ambition towards larger achievements or like milestones specifically in your career. If you've been in a career for a long time, if you're looking for, a new role, if you are looking to be promoted or making like a job switch somewhere, I think it's going to be very supported. Also, mentors and authority figures also become supportive towards you in your journey. And with this one, much like overextending yourself in the first house, if you have a first house Jupiter in Leo transit, so if you are a Leo rising, taking on more than you can sustain is really important to consider if you are, again, a Leo rising or a Scorpio rising. So if it's a first or a 10th house transit. So then Sagittarius risings. Okay, Jupiter loves to be in the 9th. So opportunities for travel, for learning, higher forms of learning. So going back to school, personal expansion through travel in general. This is huge. It's going to be a highlight, I'm sure. Spiritual growth is also huge. You could be traveling to Greece for 2 weeks at a time, or going to Europe across the board for a good chunk of a period of time. Like that is a 9th house transit. So the 3rd house is 2 to 3 days. 9th house is 2 to 3 weeks. Also higher forms of consciousness. So increased luck, conversations around existential crises or just deeper meanings of life conversations, luck in general, teaching, international matters, all 9th house themes. Bigger picture is the theme associated with the 9th house. It's an excellent time. If you want to go for something, if you want to start, I don't want to say a business, but if you want to go back to school, that's a really great time to do that and just start learning something new, pick up a new hobby. This is really supported. But with the 9th house transit, unless you have Earth in the 9th, staying grounded is a really big thing with the 9th house transit in general, but especially with Jupiter there. So yeah. Capricorn risings, we're almost done. 8th house. So the 8th house, there's potential for growth through interdependency. So like you and another through relationships by way of sharing. You could also be benefiting on a financial level through shared investments, inheritance, settlements, money that just comes out of nowhere, bonuses, opportunities from that perspective are huge with Jupiter in the eighth. It's also the eighth house is the house of transformation. And so with that being said, there's opportunity for there to be emotional healing and just healing in general. So one thing I would suggest with the eighth house is just to be cautious with taxes, debt, or financial overextension. Every time I see the eclipses, so the nodes of fate go through the eighth and the second, and then Jupiter through the eighth and the second, taxes do tend to be a thing for them in the years to come, in the year following, typically, depending on how long it's in their houses or their second and their eighth houses for. Nothing to fear, just something to consider. Okay. Aquarius rising, second to last, seventh house transit. Okay, so partnerships become a main theme here. You could be meeting your person if you haven't already. You could be also getting married. And you and another person, become a major source of growth and its opportunity to be more in joy. So INJOY, not ENJOY. Marriage, contracts, business, divorce, grandparents, those are all a theme in the seventh house. And helpful people tend to enter your life when you have a seventh house Jupiter transit. Also, like you could become more popular at that period of time. Much like the 11th house, the 7th house kind of has a similar energy in the sense of like people want to spend more time with you. You are sought out after. You got that lucky girl energy going for you. This is 7th house through and through. And with this one, you're going to want to avoid over idealizing partners and over giving to another before pouring into yourself. So happy Jupiter and Leo Aquarius risings. And then finally, Pisces risings. Okay. 6th house. Shout out to my Pisces risings in the whole sign system for sure. So 6th house, improvement in health, work routines, productivity, all of that definitely comes forth when Jupiter is rolling through the 6th house. Opportunities to be in service to others is also a big theme. So if like you have the opportunity to volunteer, to donate money, to donate your time, to like anyone really, it's not anyone specifically per se, like that's a 6th house transit because the 6th house is all about being in service to others. Your daily life can become more enjoyable, but it's busier, but can become more enjoyable. And in general, this time is just a really good time to like, I guess, plan out your habits, revisit your habits, see what it does and doesn't serve you. I'm seeing in my third eye, the book of Atomic Habits, I believe. That was like what was wanting to come through. So that's like the metaphor of the book I would suggest for this specific house. With this specific placement, you want to avoid overworking, overpromising, and ignoring your physical limits. So overextending yourself as well. So overall, I would say Jupiter and Leo, it's going to be a good time. Jupiter likes to be in the fire signs. Really thought he was going to like to be in Cancer, which he does, but maybe I'm just disappointed personally. I'm like, and it could have been everything else that was going in the sky. But all this to say, I'm very excited to see Jupiter and Leo. Good shit. He likes to be there way more than he likes to be in Virgo, which is 2027 to 2028. So we will see. Anyways, send us a DM. Let us know where this is affecting you in your chart. Check out the offers that we have for the month of July. You can visit the show notes and my website and hit us up over Instagram at the Spiritual Sisters Podcast at Agua Astrology. And we'll see you in the next one. Next week, we're going to do an episode on 2026 halfway through it and check in to see what the predictions are and where we're at for the second half of the year. So be sure to not miss that one. And we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.